Thank you for attending the in-person meet that will be recorded. I am planning on loading this stuff up to YouTube, so watch the Facebook groups for posts as to links to that. Again, we do have a few questions, and I'm also going to be giving a flashback to those of you who were back when we were doing the combined business meeting sessions. And there is going to be a remote microphone going around. I'm going to tell our candidates here, this is a cheap mic. Pretend it's a flashlight that has to shine right in your face. Otherwise, nobody will hear a thing you say. So, all righty. And all right. So I'm His Lordship Kenji. I will be the MC for tonight. Forgive the hobbling around here now and then. I might have my son running around for me in a little bit. So, anyways, if the candidates would, just a real quick introduction as to who you are again, and then we'll get into the questions.
Good evening. I am Viscount Sir William Jeffrey the Rogue. I hail from for a while. Much of that while has been spending time up here in Pomaria, both having fun and serving as a champion or playing around for the populace. I've reigned as Prince of the Summits. I have been a Summits champion, been perennial champion, and I'm the founder of the Blue Crush Warband.
I am Her Ladyship, Jaquetta Jack Wild. I've only been doing the SCA for a few years, but I've spent most of that time living in Terra Pomaria and only recently moved. But very much love being in Terra Pomaria, and I'm the event steward for Long and Short coming up. I'm currently head of retinue for their current excellencies.
Hello, I'm Master Ray Newton. I've been in the society, active in the society for about 25 years. Held many offices. Terra Pomaria is my home.
Hello, I am Mistress Adele Newton. I am a Pelican. I started in the SCA in 2002, where at my very first Kaylee, her best friend for a couple of years before we decided marriage was a better choice. So we got married, we had 5 children, and Terra Pomaria has been our community for the first 6 years. And then we moved away for a little while and we've come back, and it has continued to be our community.
Hello, I'm Weiston Albright. I'm the current scribe of Terra Pomaria, and I'm a former exchequer. I've been playing with the barony since 2016. I've enjoyed every moment of it and would like to continue to serve.
And I'm Christmas Carol. I belong to him, and he is the reason I'm in the SCA. We've been in, well, at least I've been in since 20 plus years, and I love it. Nerdy folks, lots of learning, all the love. It's great. We want to continue to do that.
All right, thank you. So some of these questions will be repeats. Some of them are going to be some new ones. And we'll kind of do what we did last time, starting with a different pair each time. So starting with Jack and Jeff, because it's just stuck in my head now from last night. In your opinion, what is the role of the Baron and Baroness?
The Baron and Baroness are the crown's representative in the barony, and they are the people's representative to the crown. The Baron and Baroness lead by example. They're world's best. Apparently, I think very highly of them suddenly. And when possible, they get to recognize those same people.
I mainly agree with everything he just said. that duality of representing the crown to the people, because not everybody in the populace strictly hears about or is aware of everything that the crown kind of has going on as far as policy or things from the bod. And so it's the responsibility of Baron and Baroness to help educate the populace on things. And also to help ensure that the crown can help support the populace of uplifting them on their path, helping to make events possible and still work with Cora. So I mean, that duality of serving the crown to the people, but also helping the people with the crown as well.
It's a little bit difficult to add on to that, but they are also the stewards of the customs and traditions going forward, would be my thought.
They set the tone for how the populace interacts with each other. And they are supposed to be the pristine example of how everyone should act.
And really just kind of adding on to what they've said, about the only other major role that the Baron and Baroness do is they're the primary point of contact for the barony when it comes to the public for a lot of times. So it's conveying both to the public in large and to the barony and upwards outside of the barony, the kingdom and principality, the wonderful, magnificent things that the barony is active in, and making sure that that stuff gets pointed out. So that's kind of my thoughts.
The pathway for sharing the skills and the knowledge and making sure that, you know, the graciousness and the gratitude and stuff get spread around. They are the pathway for the pageantry. And well, I guess our excuse to be able to openly have the pageantry everywhere we go, because there's that structure in place. Because if I had to make all the things myself, we would need a much bigger house to keep them in. But instead, I get to give them to other people.
All righty. Thank you, candidates. So what I would like you to do next is just take a couple of minutes, talk about what you see as the future of the barony and major projects and things you want to focus on if you become the next Baron and Baroness. And this would start with Adele and Rafe.
Definitely encouraging other groups such as the foresters, working on the customary and the awards. There's also a bunch of online documents that the barony uses for events and other activities that really need a refresh.
Get them posted somewhere easy. Make sure they're on, laid out well on the website. As web developers, we've been kind of looking at that. We'd like to make that easier for people to access.
I'd like to see the sergeantry get a big jump start back in Baron. They've had a chance to relax and go their own way for a little bit, but it would be nice to see them come together once again and invite new ones to join in. And also, being as I'm such a warmonger, I'd love to find a way to pull the barony together to create some sort of force to represent on the field when the crown and coronet calls, whether it's the sergeants bringing other troops onto the field or even the barony hosting its own siege wagon.
For the future of the barony, I'd like to see us grow and continue a lot of the traditions we already have to participate as well. Sort of project wise, my brain instantly went to trying to grow deputies for officer positions, of trying to take a look at what interests people have, be it something like ANS, say Scribal specifically, and reach out to people more of, hey, are you interested in trying a deputy role under the officer? So you don't have the commitment of a full officer role. You can still see what it's like, spend some time doing it. And then if you like doing officer things, you can, or potentially a different officer role grabs your attention and you can look into that. Officer roles are a big stepping stone for a lot of folks on their path. especially if you look at Peerage, even Marshall, because some of the officer roles are related to Marshall activities. So I would like to see people get more opportunities because not everyone knows you can do a deputy role, which is more part-time and might fit your schedule a little better, or you can even do remotely sometimes. So you don't always have to be present. And it helps our own deputies we already have spread out a little bit of the tasks so it's not all on them.
I kind of mirror Jeffy's point of view. I really want to see the sergeantry program come back into really the wonderful institution it can be. I want to have them have that camaraderie that comes around with being a candidate that has gone through the trials and succeeded and part of a group. So I kind of want to bring that fellowship together of that group and get that up and going again. So that's one of my main pushes.
We've done a lot of talking about just increasing the community feel and making sure people feel more connected to the groups around, doing things like, having picnics at a local park and things like that that are just totally optional, totally free for people to show up and just remember that there's a community here to be around and love and support and receive the love in return.
Thank you. So the next question starts off with Weiston and Christmas. The populace recognizes that factors outside of the SCA can place demands on your time. How do you plan to achieve a balance between those demands and your responsibilities as our Baron and Baroness?
I'm going to need a definition of the word balance. Yeah. Hey, as current seneschal, the barony is still standing. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's very tough because with a lot of us, especially since say 2020, when it rains, it pours, and boy, has it been difficult, which I think is a huge part of why some of our community and camaraderie has fallen apart. It's just there's so many demands on our time and energy and resources. We have been planning for this sort of, making sure to, come up with ideas and save up and whatever we can do to kind of prep, talk to all the previous Baron and Baronesses about just how much time and effort goes into it and cost for things like driving and whatnot. And yeah, I think we'll manage. I can't promise you that it won't fall apart for small minutes at a time, but I think we'll manage.
Yeah, I know everyone on this panel does have a bit of a helium hand. I don't think anyone here would ever turn down an opportunity to help out if asked. But that is kind of the spirit of the barony in essence. So a lot of how to deal with the demands that come across life is having to make hard calls sometimes of, hey, I need to put this on hold and take care of this thing in my life right now, and I will get back to that when I have the time to do so. Or delegating it out to someone else, which oftentimes causes growth in those other individuals that you delegate to. So it's a win-win situation in that case.
I have a similar mind as Weiston on delegation. That's part of what we have officers for. Before agreeing to do this, I actually reached out to quite a few folks that have been former Baron and Baronesses, not just to Terra Pomaria, but Gwendufin, Audiantum, Dragon's Lair. Please don't yell Dragon's Lair when you see this. But to get the opinions of other people of what they wish they had known before they had become baronials. And one of the big things that a lot of them touched on was utilizing your own scope of some things are not in the Baron and Baroness scope, and you need to defer to your seneschal or other folks. And some things were that each officer has a purpose and a point, and that's why they're there. So if you have someone in an officer role, you need to touch base with them, and you don't have to do it all yourself. Definitely support your officers, but that's what they're there for, is to help the barony run, not just because you're there doing it all yourself, but because you have a whole team of people to make up the barony.
I have a dog and he pouts in the cutest way when I'm not home enough. In other things, the last few years, I've been renovating a house, falling in love and getting married. There are still lots and lots of projects left to do, and I can't ignore those. So, I mean, there's always going to have to be a balance, and there's times I'm going to have to pick and choose, and sometimes puppy and house are going to have to win. Family is going to have to win. But my chosen family has really high step up there in the world. So I balance as best I can. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail. And if I look too frazzled, that's just normally the way my hair looks.
Balance is the real key term there. We're lucky enough to be able to set our own schedules, working from home. So we're used to moving things around to make time. We're pretty adept at if you move something or put something on the calendar, you're definitely going to have to adjust your schedule to fill in for your other responsibilities.
It's no secret that we have a big family. There are a lot of us. House Newton is pretty big. And so we had to sit down with our children and chat with them about the demands that this could make on our family. And all of them are on board and have them interested in supporting it. A joke around our house is if you want something done, ask a busy person. And I'm afraid this might be an example of that. We are very busy, but we're also fairly good at spreading it out.
Thank you all. Okay, so back to Jack and Jeff. There are many Terra Pomaria members that have stopped playing in Terra Pomaria because of past confrontations or misunderstandings with officers and the Baron and Baroness. How would you attempt to bring them back to participating within TP again?
In a lot of ways, I believe in redemption. It's not always an easy path, but my early days in the SCA, I was not always the best of people, or most temperate of other people. I made mistakes, and it took owning up to mistakes and being willing to fix things, or at least make the effort to come out and find this path and find something. Other people deserve the chance to be heard, have a chance to hear the grievances, and if we can, work them out. If we can't find redemption somewhere, then I don't know what's. Someone has to choose not to follow that path, I guess, to that extent. But honestly, I'm willing to make an effort if someone else is. Even if it's difficult in this position, I would do what I can.
It was mentioned yesterday, but I haven't mentioned it today. But I'm currently finishing up rather a master's in human resources. So a lot of my brain goes to a lot of that kind of thinking. And sometimes it's as simple as reaching out to folks and hearing out what they feel their barriers or grievances are. Other times you really shouldn't strictly do it yourself. You can maybe do the reaching out, but give the offer of, would you like to speak with an intermediary or someone else that you would prefer to talk to instead of myself, depending on the situation? Because occasionally the issue is with the barony or the figurehead of the baronials, even if it isn't anyone on this panel before, that they feel there's an issue with. Especially if it's someone in the barony that doesn't want to play here anymore for various reasons. So you have to listen to whoever it is that you're trying to reach out to and be willing to compromise and see what they feel they need. Sometimes it's simply they don't want to come back anymore for various reasons and they don't feel there's anything that'll make it better. And it's okay to accept that because you don't always have to force a solution. that doesn't help anything and it causes animosity. Other times they just want to be heard and it's really that simple and they're willing to give everyone a shot again. So essentially just reaching out and seeing what the person who's no longer playing feels that they want or that the problem is. It might just be another member even of having a sit down with another member to get something hashed out.
Well, this is always a tough one. When people have issues with the SCA, they're hard to sometimes get hold of. They don't necessarily come back right away, but if they're willing to put in the effort to come around, and by providing activities that they can do so that are no cost and low risk, you're more likely to let them see that the organization is very much a living thing. We've changed dramatically based on my time. And it might be the change that they're looking for. So by providing those low barrier entry events, we provide that opportunity. So that's how I really see, providing an access route to them is by making it so that they can come out, see how we've changed, see if they want to participate. Again, like Jack was saying, that change may not be what they like. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not someone that wants to play. And that's okay. We have to accept that. But if it is something they like and they see the positivity of the inclusivity and diversity that have come into the society, then we're welcome to have them back, get them active. Hey, maybe they could fill one of those deputy slots that we really need people to fill, So, yeah, that's how I see it.
We've talked a lot about essentially the mental health basis of life. And among the many, many reasons why somebody may step back from any organization or task or role is, the monsters in our head. And so reaching out, doing just a little bit to let someone know, hey, we see you and you're welcome here and we're here. And letting them go at their own pace is a huge helpful thing for letting someone adapt to whatever their new world is, whatever growth they've had to go through or whatever shift in their center of gravity has been. So yeah, lots of reaching out, lots of making sure to acknowledge someone. I've been working very hard on looking people in the eye. Hello, camera. And making sure they feel seen. And that's a huge part of getting someone to be a part of the community, not just from our perspective, but from their internal perspective as well.
So we moved away for a few years, and it wasn't because we were unhappy. It was because we had life changes. And I will say that when we came back, it hadn't been very long. All the faces had changed, but Terra Pomaria was still very, very much the same. It hadn't changed. And we were welcomed back with open arms, not knowing us. And I appreciate that. Sometimes you need that invitation back when you've taken a break, thought about things, and come back. So I would hope that you could be a friendly and welcoming face if you return. We would like to offer that again. How much change is up to you? I do know that every time that I have worked with Terra Pomaria in particular, it has been very welcoming and friendly. So come help us become what you're looking for. I know that we are very, very friendly.
Keeping the doors of communication open are always the best place to start. We know several people who have fallen out of the SCA, and we keep knocking on their doors, trying to get them back. Hey, we're doing this. Do you want to come? And we'll keep doing that.
And oftentimes people are not returning, not because they don't want to, but because their lives have changed. More and more often we are finding that it is circumstances not within their control. Maybe they've moved, maybe there's health reasons. There are many reasons not to be here. So I do take that into consideration.
All righty, thank you. So I'm going to make a quick pause for the questions here. We may be having some technical difficulties due to the heat here pretty soon. So what I want to announce really quick is for everybody here, everybody watching, polling starts tomorrow, closes on the 26th. In order to participate in polling, you have to have an on-tier log, or is it on-tier? Yeah. Yeah, you have to have an on-tier login. Okay. Sometimes it takes a day or two to get that set up. So make sure tonight you have your login set up so that you can get in and do participate in the polling tomorrow. Okay. Starting tomorrow, if you go to the on-tier main page, there should be a link for the Baronio polling. As soon as I have that link, I'll also throw it into the Facebook groups and things like that. Okay, so moving on to questions. From a online submission last night, you were a tree. What kind of tree would you be?
My wife tells me that I'm a family tree.
Yep, we're a family tree.
So my original answer to this question was, I'm not totally sure other than not coniferous because there's too many pointy needles and the sap gets sticky, probably something tall with broad shade. But then we landed upon apple trees because of Terra Pomaria. Although Jeff said a kite eating tree, and since we don't know if that's apple or not, the trees from the Wizard of Oz that throw the apples at people occasionally, that's kind of where we landed for him, I think. That also eats kites.
Easiest answer, a Christmas tree, because that's where Christmas carols belong.
And yeah, I would go with something like you, strong and flexible.
The next question is, what do we want our legacy to be?
For me, what I would love to see as a legacy is growth both in the barony itself and in the people of the barony. That would be the best gift I could have through leaving, is seeing that happen.
Yeah, both of ours are fairly simple, straightforward. It's all about joy and love and community. So as long as people feel like they were welcomed and included, big thing with me is being of use, not just used, but genuinely welcome and of use to the project, to the task, to the community as a whole. So yeah, if people feel those things, great, golden, I'm happy.
I would like my legacy to be, if selected, to be known as somebody who was kind, kind and listening. Sometimes people just need to know that they were heard. Whether it's a new idea of a project they have, even if it's not something we can work out, they just need to know they were heard. And it's kindness instead of just niceties of, oh yeah, hi, I'm the Baroness, and anyway, have a good time. And you're not being mean to anybody and you're not being rude to anybody, but you're not really being kind or welcoming to them either. So I'd like to be known for kindness and actually taking an interest in the populace and what their joys or concerns may be, and some of that work-life balance stuff of being a populist versus life events happening. Sometimes that's what folks need too, is that support. So kindness.
As Prince, I often thought about what my legacy would be. And like everybody, when you make a plan, the universe laughs at you. As time has gone on, what I've found that the best legacy that really remains is to have made a difference in somebody's time in the SCA. 10 years after stepping down as Prince, it is the most heartwarming thing to hear someone say, "You were my first Prince. You took a moment and made my path in the SCA completely different, and I grew as a result of that." I hope that I can be that for people if we're chosen as Baron and Baroness. I hope that I can, just with those small moments of contact with someone, change their career or change their path and bring them to something that inspires them and brings them joy.
I would hope that we could offer community, and that would be a time of community.
be a strong link in the chain of service and fealty that have held this burning together since the beginning. And to leave Barony in a stronger place than when we stepped up.
To be a joyful time, and to be remembered as a joyful time in the history of Terra Pomaria.
Okay, so before I release the candidates into the more social meet and greet kind of things, any last questions from the audience? And we'll repeat them really quickly so that people at home. If I'm wrong, the question is, what is your initiatives to increase the officer cadre and prevent burnout for our officers?
When I joined the SCA in Terra Pomaria, it was the officers who welcomed me in. And when we returned 10 years later, it was the officers that welcomed us back. We have amazing, core, hardworking folks who get things done. And one of the first things we did was attend business meetings. It was a very social get together every month where you got to see the people who work hard doing what they do best. And it didn't take long before there was a tremendous amount of peer pressure to join in and help. So I would love to bring back with help from the Barony, a hybrid version of our business meeting. I would love, and I would encourage an in-person with an online version as well for those who we have all kinds of reasons not to be able to make it, from location to mobility issues to all different reasons not to come in. So I would love to see a hybrid. Another thing that I don't see right now is a place where Terra Pomaria comes together at events outside of Terra Pomaria. So if you're traveling, we always had kind of the odds. Pomaria. I would love to I would love to see a Terra Pomaria encampment for officers and populace and Baron and Baroness find community with each other at events. Those are what I would really love to see and encourage.
I have a smart wife and it's
Sort of touched on this earlier, but something to the effect of looking at what folks' affinities are. If there are people at, say, the scribal table or a bardic area, trying to do outreach to those people and saying, not just, do you have an interest in being a deputy or an officer or in trying to advance on your path per se, but framing it more as, hey, I see you specifically have an interest in art. You have an interest in playing music, or you have an interest in doing illumination specifically. Would you be interested in doing an officer role in that capacity, and focused on the actual role itself that's bringing them joy of why they'd be interested in it? Similarly, like with the martial activities and those officers, and some don't even seem like they're totally related. Yesterday, I mentioned exchequer role is one people don't strictly think of a lot, but that's kind of related to gate. So if there's folks that you've seen kind of like doing gate shifts or are interested in potentially helping run a gate, they might be someone who's interested in stepping up as exchequer or one of the related roles as well. Scribal can also lead into maybe say chronicler if they would like writing. I mean, it's not always the artistic side of it. For social media, there's all kinds of stuff people have an interest in if you pay attention. And I like to see what people's joys are and figure out what motivates them. And I feel like that's a good way to do outreach on the deputy positions, because you're still not hooking for no, you're committed to doing this or taking an official role, but they can still get the opportunity in doing something they like that also might be a little more furthering to them as well.
Interesting reason they might find Deputy Seneschal, replace Seneschal. I went through the OP, and the baronial persona Facebook page and the official community group page and many of others out there to look at names and try and make the connections with this person is, and have we seen them? Oh, look, it says that they're part of our lands, and when was the last time I talked to this human, or have I even met them? And so there's been some reaching out that, and it's been interesting in those responses. Some of them actually remind me of the shadow lane position. They're there and they see something that maybe they want to participate in, but had not been welcomed into it, or just needed a little push of like, hey, this is here. Like Jack said, just let them know it's within their realm and it's here and we believe they can do it. So that's been a huge part of it, a little bit of both of theirs. And
what I would say is one of the hard things we've had with getting deputies is communicating the need for those deputies. Our officers are working really hard and they don't necessarily take the time to sit back and go, oh, maybe I should get a deputy because they're too busy doing other things. So maybe what we need to look at doing is something informal, like like a job fair where we have the officers promote their office and put out little things where you could sign up if you're interested. Something simple like that might yield results.
I remembered the thing I was going to say. So I'm going to steal a page from Jimena and Melanie and here. And the whole separation of duties, a lot of the jobs seem intense and overwhelming, largely because of misunderstandings, because they don't necessarily understand, the rules behind it or dedicate hours to it. So we have talked a lot about which offices can be essentially parceled apart. And that way, as a deputy, you get in charge of a chunk of it, but not an overwhelming amount. And for who is the main officer, that is your guide, your leader, whatever it is for that role, gets a little bit of relief and has a little bit of time to spend teaching you, guiding the rest of the barony, because their plate is not so very full. So my favorite tradition. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. See, I already forgot. If you pick me, you're choosing an ADHD Baron. We have been asked to either share a cheesy joke, dad joke, talk about our favorite Pomaria tradition, or burden you with some puns. All humorous, all about the joy. Puns of Terra Pomaria specifically. My favorite thing here is the silly bardics. I love it when this happens. They don't happen a lot. We should do more of them, but they're such a joy to see the Filks and Alina and her wonderful "This is the song that never ends" in Latin. And yeah, it's that's my favorite. I could listen to those all day.
Okay, so dad joke time. Which knight has journeyed far and wide? Sir, come scribe.
What do you call a cow that has recently given birth? Decaffeinated.
I think tradition wise, I really like the silly bardics. And partially because I also felt very sad and cheated that I tried to organize one for the kids 2 years ago at Long and Short and then broke my leg a couple weeks before the event. So I could not attend. And someone else had to run it for me. So that made me sad. Yeah. Honestly, I think I know a whole bunch of puns and none of them are in my head right now. I think it's because Waylon left. And so I can't perform with that as his, what is he called now? His Highness here. There we go. Words.
What knight has the biggest or the longest belt in the kingdom? Circumference.
So reach. So I don't have any puns. I'm going to take a big risk and tell a story. Which, so at Ontario Westward this year, a previous Baron of Terra Pomaria likes to deliver not poisoned cookies to the Queen of the West. And we had a newcomer with us who wanted to see more shenanigans. So we decided to burn down the biffies. And that meant balloons with a little flashy lights, LEDs, and then we'd write flame and different things on the balloons, and then we would stick them to the biffies. And we had a large enough group that we decided to split into two groups. One went that way, and we ended up with all the children. Rafe and I ended up with a wagon full of burning balloons, and we went, and because we're not very good at this, we burned our own biffy down. So we stuck the balloons to our own biffy, and I'm like, wait a second, we just burned our own. We got to go further than that. So we made it down to the, of course it's on tier royals, but we don't realize that at the time. So we are burning down the biffies way. And we realized one of the biffies has someone in it, but we just burn it down anyway. And we're out there laughing it up.
Balloons stick to that.
And the most balloons stick to this particular one. And the door opens and somebody peeks around and starts laughing and comes out of the biffy. And I was going, Your Majesty, Majesty, it was the King of Ontier. We burned down the biffy with the King of Ontier inside.
So at this time, Facebook is a really obvious method of being able to try and reach out to the populace. However, they're interested in what are other ways and methods we can reach out to the populace as well, especially for those potentially not on Facebook or social media. The first thing that came to mind was how the populace can reach out to us, because Ontario very lovingly went ahead and switched over the emails to be all uniform. So you don't just have 2,000 emails anymore, but that doesn't strictly address how we reach back out. I suppose the crier is a way, but that anticipates folks actually reading the crier. It's a newsletter that Ontier has, potentially trying to contact folks via phone or their own email, because that is usually listed when you do membership and renew membership. But that does kind of invite a small invasion of privacy. So I mean, that's a good thought to bring up of what are appropriate methods. Anybody?
One thing that came out of Rafe and Adele that I absolutely adore. They may not be the ones in the world that invented this, but they started it here in Terra Pomaria. And that is putting the events when we do the advertisements or the announcements for things in a quick little image, date, time, location, basic what it is. And that has helped those of us that maybe don't want to read the entire thing to be able to still quickly add something to our calendar or whatnot. And that works across any form of social media or announcement banner. And for some of our other newcomers, we have converted back to text messaging and like email, that kind of stuff. Some of us have specific email accounts just for the SCA because part of our joy is found in the, I don't want to use the word escape, but it is, to these lands. And so use it on up. All we want, that email address for the people. That's what it's for, is for our community, our events, our sources of stuff. So those are the two recent things. We have talked about doing a banner on the website. I don't think we're there yet, but many of the website things have been updated thanks to Cormac. So we've talked specifically about it. I don't know if you've been on Antier's website lately. Well, not lately. It's been there for a long time. Took us a while to have this inspiration. But it has that running ticker of recent announcements and that you can click on and it brings you to a small article of whatever that newer thing is, whether it's a change in the rules. Our Baronia polling was one of the announcements, stuff like that. We want to do that to Terra Pomaria's website so that there is a clean, like say the next 30 days, here's what's going on so that anybody from anywhere can just go to the website and do that. And there's more. You should take it, Adele.
Ideas I had while she was having her brilliant ideas as well. Heralds, actually, because I was focused on folks that aren't strictly attending events, but heralds are great because I was just informed, I think, yet last night or this morning that Long and Short, which you should go to and is totally awesome. That's where this whole baronial changeover is happening. But as event steward, they told me the king and queen mentioned it during their court, and apparently Stromgard did as well because they're having an equestrian championship with us at Long and Short. So heralds are great, and reaching out to other baronies to tell their populace of, hey, come to our events. These are what we've got. What do you guys have that we can tell our people about? So that might be a good way to spread word, is literally word of mouth for lovely heralds like Jimena there. And yeah.
So this is something I've been actively working on, is trying to reconnect with people who are not coming. I have actually visited people at their houses. I have called, I have used Facebook. Most people are in a different chapter of their lives, but it's worth trying. The other piece of this is if they do happen to show up, to welcome them, to be that friendly face. How many of you did I come over to? I had never seen you before, but I was right there to ask them, how are you, Adele? And for me, I personally, I don't know how many of you are like this, but I need an invitation. I can't just show up and drop into the group easily. I need somebody to say, come on in. And so because that's how I feel, I will do that for each of you. If I see a face I don't know, I will approach you and I will say hi, because I really do believe we each deserve that welcome. I'm also involved in the live stream and trying to make sure that's out there so that those who are just watching from a distance can still be involved. And when they're ready, welcome back.
I just saw that Adiantum is holding open office hours, and they're meeting with the populace in person at, say, a tea shop. So I thought that was a really lovely idea.
What would you like to see your next Baron and Baroness do to fulfill your vision of reaching out?
Like it. That's a good name, Audiantum. That's a good name for the things we were talking about with the picnics in the park and stuff. The whole point would be an opportunity to just get together for an hour or two, check on each other, make sure we're, still having a pulse and participating in the world. Thank you for that. Oh, we should repeat that so that you at home can know what was said. I should have handed you the microphone. I am so sorry. So, to sum up, correct me if I do this incorrectly, it was about in-person communication and warmth. So saying hi, introducing yourself, reaching out, going to the little things like fighter practice, like the dailies, and genuinely connecting with each person that's there, especially if you don't know them yet. But even friends that you've had for a very long time. Because, some of us, it took us 17 times of meeting Liana. See, I even didn't say it right, of knowing her name.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, so I just want to remind people again, go to the Ontario website, make sure you have your login tonight so that, tomorrow or the next day you can get in, actually participate in the polling. The link should be on the homepage starting tomorrow. And because we didn't advertise this before, there's this thing coming up in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, in about 2 weeks where one of these people is going to be stepping up. So you come to that as well. I will just, you guys. Officer Spiegel. Word from our sponsor. This event is from Terra Pomaria. Just to let you know, Terra Pomaria is looking for multiple officers. We have multiple officers who are looking to step down, find replacements, get deputies. We have several officer positions open. So if you're interested, please contact the Seneschal or one of the other officers. We'd be happy to talk with you. With that, good night.